Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States and the Chairman of the Board of the Kennedy Center, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. This is a very exciting project. We're going to do something that will go rapidly, relatively inexpensively, and will make it better than it ever was, frankly. It'll be something that people are going to be very proud of. Along with, in the bigger picture, a place called Washington, D.C. That is the bigger one, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But let's talk about right now the Kennedy Center, and I'm delighted to be here as we officially announce the incredibly talented artists who will be celebrated later this year at the 2025 Kennedy Center Honors. It's going to be a big evening. I've been asked to host. I said, I'm the President of the United States. Are you fools asking me to do that? Sir, you'll get much higher ratings. I said, I don't care. I'm President of the United States. I won't do it. They said, please. And then Susie Wells said to me, sir, I'd like you to host. I said, okay, Susie, I'll do it. That's the power she's got. But I just, so I have agreed to host. Do you believe what I have to do? And I didn't want to do it, okay? They're going to say, he insisted. I did not insist. But I think it will be quite successful, actually. It's been a long time. I used to host the Apprentice finales, and we did rather well with that. So I think we're going to do very well because we have some great honorees, some really great ones. Since 1978, the Kennedy Center Honors have been among the most prestigious awards in the performing arts. I wanted one. I was never able to get one. This year, it's true, actually. I would have taken it if they would have called me. I waited and waited and waited, and I said, the hell with it. I'll become chairman, and I'll give myself an honor. Maybe I'm going to honor, next year we'll honor Trump, okay? This year, the board has selected a truly exceptional class of honorees. I mean, really exceptional. First is country music star, actor, and producer George Strait. Great. Over an extraordinary 4-decade career, George has sold more than 120 million records worldwide, amassed 60 #1 hits, wow, and produced 33 platinum certified albums, more than any other living American. That is amazing. He's believed by millions of people to just be as good as you can get, and he's beloved by hundreds of millions of people all over the world. He's really something, and they call him the king of country, and we know him very well, George Strait. Okay, please. Oh, it looks nice. You're a good-looking guy. I hope he still looks like that. Second is actor, singer, philanthropist, and star of the Broadway stage. One of my favorite talents. I think he's one of the greatest talents I've ever actually seen. I've always said, and just so we don't get in trouble, I'll say among the greatest artists in the world are the Broadway London actors back and forth. That's all they want to do is they want to do Broadway and they want to do London. They want to do 8 shows a week, including matinee on Wednesday. And if you said make a movie, they can't even think about it. If you say go on television, they don't want to. All they want to do is be on the stage, the live stage, and it's amazing. But I've always said they're the most talented people. And this man may be the most of all. Michael Crawford is being honored. Michael was born in England in 1942. He made his Broadway debut in 1967. I was there. I shouldn't say that, but I was there. It seems like a long time ago. And he became an international sensation in the 1980s for his original portrayal of the Phantom of the Opera, one of the greatest ever, 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 ever. You don't see him like that very often, winning him the esteemed Tony Award for Best Actor in a Musical. He's won so many awards. Michael is truly a generational talent, had a voice that was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. There's never, I don't know, Luciano Pavarotti had a very different voice. The power was incredible, magnificent. Michael had a different kind of a voice. These are just unbelievable talents. But Michael is very special and one of the greatest roles in the history of Broadway. And nobody did it like him. Michael Crawford, thank you very much. Great guy. Next, we look forward to honoring three-time Oscar nominee, Golden Globe Award winner, an action movie icon, and a friend of mine. He's a very unique man. He's somebody that doesn't do these things. I said, I wonder if he'll accept, because some people don't really want to be honored. They don't care. But he was very honored to be honored, I will tell you. He's a very special guy. A real talent, never been given the credit for the talent. There was nobody else could have done the roles that he did like he did. I'm not even close, and they've tried, and they didn't work out too well. His name is Sylvester Stallone. So it's very few, almost, if any, people that could have taken a name and made it so incredible, like Rocky, Rambo, Creed, and others. But think of it, Rocky, Rambo, if you did one, you're good. You do two. And I'll never forget, I was a young guy, and I went to see a thing called Rambo, and it had just come out. I didn't know anything about it, but I was in a movie theater, like we used to go to movie theaters a lot. And I said, this movie is phenomenal. What the heck? And that turned out to be a monster. Rocky is Rocky. I mean, the way that happened, you know, Sly had no money, nothing, and he went around, and everybody wants to do a boxing movie. It's the most, you know, probably more than any other type of character, boxing, always boxing. It's so great. And there's rarely been anything like this one. John Voight did a great one, as you know. Champ, great. I think that was right there, too. John Voight's a phenomenal person, phenomenal actor. But Sly came in, and he had no money. He wrote a script, along with thousands of other people writing scripts on a boxer. And for some reason, a studio picked up this and liked it. And Sly he's in an old car that he came in from Brooklyn, or someplace in New York, but I think Brooklyn. It barely made it to California. He was sleeping in the car. I mean, he had nothing. And he wanted control over who the actor was going to be, because he said it can't be successful if you're going to pick a movie actor with a bad build, okay? A nice face, but a bad body. And he said, I can't have these guys, because he's a tough cookie, and he knew exactly what it took. He knew what a boxer's body was. So they brought him one, and I won't tell you who it was, but it was a big name, but the chest wasn't exactly what you need. One shot, and your heart would pop out. That wasn't too good. Then he did another one. He was fat, sloppy, but had a good face. Then he did another one, and another one, and another one. And he turned it down. He wouldn't take $1 million. He wouldn't do it. And it turned out that when they saw him, they said, you know, you'd be actually pretty good for this role. And he had never done this before, anything like it. But think of it, he turned down $1 million. He had nothing. He refused to let somebody else play. He didn't want to play it. He wasn't originally, he did it as a writer. But he ended up playing it because he couldn't find anybody else that fit the role. And who knew what would have happened? He's become a legend of the silver screen, a true legend, and he's a great guy. He's a little bit tough, a little bit different, I will tell you. He's a little tough guy. But he's a phenomenal person with a phenomenal wife and family. Incredible wife, incredible family. His films grossing more than 7.5 billion, which is either a record or very close to it. I can't imagine anybody doing more. If you add up Rambo and Rocky and these others, I can't imagine anybody doing much more. 7.5 billion worldwide over the course of 6 decades. And Sly is a pillar of the really American pop culture and a Hollywood superstar like few others, and one of the biggest names on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In fact, the only one that's a bigger name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they say, is a guy named Donald Trump. I'm on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, too, if you can believe that one. But he's amazing. He's really amazing. And he's actually a great actor. Fourth will be together celebrating one of the most revered singers of the American disco era, Gloria Gaynor. Best known for her chart-topping 1978 hit, I Will Survive. Gloria won the 1980 Grammy for Best Disco Recording, and her song was inducted into the National Recording Registry in 2016. 4 decades later, Gloria won a second Grammy in 2020 for her gospel album, Testimony, which is incredible. Truly a historic achievement, not only in terms of the years that have gone by to be great that long, but to have the two top of anything in that span of time, and with that kind of period between is pretty amazing. But I will say that I Will Survive is an unbelievable song. I've heard it, like everyone else here, thousands of times. And it's one of those few that get better every time you hear it. And nobody can sing it like her. And that's an honor. So, Gloria Gaynor, thank you. Thank you very much. And finally, we'll be honoring one of the greatest rock bands of all time, Kiss. So Kiss was formed in 1973 in New York City by founding band members, and incredible people, by the way, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss. Kiss became a global phenomenon, sold more than 100 million records worldwide, and produced 30 gold albums and lots of other things they produced. They made a fortune. And they're great people, and they deserve it, and they work hard, and they're still working hard, and it's an honor to present Kiss. Thank you very much. Got it? Yeah. Thank you. And they're going to do something very special. Kiss is going to be here on a little bit before the show. I think they're going to do something very special. We're going to have a good time. The 48th Kennedy Center honorees are outstanding people, a standing group, incredible. We can't wait to celebrate the Kennedy Center honors. It'll be in December. It'll be on CBS. In a few short months since I became chairman of the board, the Kennedy Center, we have completely reversed the decline of this cherished national institution. It was being run down. Money wasn't being spent properly. They were building things they shouldn't have built that nobody wanted instead of taking care of the great gem that it is. You look at the marble, look at the quality of the marble and the things that with a little fix-up and a little work, we can make it unbelievable. These columns, when you see them the next time, they'll be magnificent. I mean, we have some great plans for this. The bones are so good. The bones of a building, if you don't have the bones, you might as well forget it. I'm working on another building, a thing called the White House. We're fixing it up so beautifully. It needed it. It's been many, many years since it's been properly taken care of. It's incredible. One of the great places of the world. Maybe, I mean, truly, to me, is there anything else even close? But we're doing that and doing some other things, and we're going to also fix up a place called Washington, D.C. We're going to make it so beautiful again. We're going to be redoing the parks, redoing the grass. You know, grass is a lifetime like people have a lifetime. And the lifetime of this grass has long been gone when you look at the parks where the grass is old, tired, exhausted. We're going to redo the grass with the finest grasses. I know a lot about grass because I own a lot of golf courses, and if you don't have good grass, you're not in business very long, Lindsey Graham. By the way, you have very good poll numbers, Lindsey. I just saw. Congratulations. But a few short months ago, I became chairman of the Kennedy Center, and we completely reversed it. We reversed what was happening. We ended the woke political programming, and we're restoring the Kennedy Center as the premier venue for performing arts anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. This has the potential to be anywhere in the world. We're going to make it something that people can't even believe. We have some unbelievable plans, and ultimately, it's about the talent you get. Though, you can have a beautiful building. You can have nice marble walls. You can have nicely done columns, as I was saying. But if you don't have the talent on the stage, and we're going to get the best talent in the world. To that end, the world-renowned musical Les Mis had a phenomenal 5-week sold-out run this summer, beat projected revenues by 35%, and we've raised over $10 million in private funds from a lot of generous donors, and we closed the $26 million budget shortfall that they had before we got here. And with the help of Congress, we secured the critical funding necessary to rebuild the building, and we're going to get all brand new, highest level seats, magnificent seats, and it's going to be all new. We could have taken the existing ones and do a little paint job, a little fabric, but it's not the same thing. So we'll be taking out next season. All of the seats will be taken out. The room is being completely rebuilt, and I just want to thank the Republicans in the Senate, headed by Lindsey. In that case, Lindsey was she's a big fan of this building. And they got a record $257 million that's going to go toward renovations that the building really needs. And all of the exterior is going to be incredible. It's going to be exciting. So I thank you very much, and thank all of your Republican senators. I don't think we had too many Democrat votes, probably. You never have. We don't have Democrats voting even for crime. But I shouldn't make this political, because they made the Academy Awards political and they went down the tubes. So they'll say, Trump made it political. But I think if we make it our kind of political, we'll go up, okay? Let's see if I'm right about that. But I want to thank the executive director for an incredible job. He's done great. He's been with me for just about the beginning, and everything he's touched has been good. He was on high intelligence. He worked in low intelligence and high intelligence. He did better with the high intelligent people, but he's been fantastic. He's the executive director, Rick Grinnell, for his work. Thank you very much, Rick. Unbelievable job. And as well as Lindsey and all the people that helped us in Congress, I want to thank, and the Senate has been incredible. By the way, Leader Thune has been unbelievable, and Speaker Mike Johnson. These are great people. What we're doing with the great big beautiful bill is you're going to see a whole different country. You're seeing it already. We're coming in where the trillions of dollars is coming in from tariffs from all over the world, from countries that took advantage of our country. They thought we were children. They took advantage of us for decades, and now the money is flowing to us, and we've become the hottest country anywhere in the world. But the Kennedy Center board members, many of whom I knew, and many of whom I put on the board, and it's as good a board as I've ever seen. And on the board also, and some people that are doing an incredible job. One in particular is Attorney General Pam Bondi. The job she's doing is incredible. Thank you very much. Long beyond the Kennedy Center. The Kennedy Center is the easy part. She's incredible, and you're going to see a big change in Washington crime stats very soon. Or not the stats that they gave, because they turned out to be a total fraud. The real stats, the stats went through the roof. They had a man that was forced to put up stats like they were doing better. They're not doing better. Crime is the worst it's ever been, but it started as of about yesterday. You see a big change, and people are feeling safe already. I've had so many calls, thank you, sir, thank you. They were afraid to walk out. They're not afraid anymore. And this will be like the border. We started off with millions and millions of people coming in from all over the world, gang members and people from jails. They were unloading their jails into our country. All over the world they were coming, drug dealers. They came from Africa, they came from Asia, they came from South America, Venezuela in particular. They were coming in, Trinidad, and the toughest people you've ever seen. And by the millions. And for the last 3 months, we had 0, 0, and 0. We had 0 people come in for 3 months. They respect our country again. That's the other thing. All over the world, our country is respected again. So I also want to thank the Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who's fantastic. She's done an incredible job. And Sergio Gore for the job he's done with personnel. Thank you very much, Sergio. Fantastic. In the coming months, we'll fully renovate the dated and the infrastructure of the building and make the Kennedy Center a crown jewel of American arts and culture once again. I think we'll bring it to a higher level than it ever hit. Actually, it hit a certain level, but we're going to bring it to a higher level than it ever hit. We have the right location, and soon we will be a crime-free area. This is going to be a crime-free area, by the way. You'll be able to go out. People tell me they can't run anymore. They're just afraid. And they'll be running again. We're going to have a crime-free. It's a big statement because if one thing happens all year, Pam, you better be good because they'll say Trump did not fulfill his. One person gets a little injured by somebody, they'll say Trump did not fulfill his promise. No, we're going to be essentially crime-free. This is going to be a beacon. And it's going to also serve as an example of what can be done. We have to get rid of this cashless bail nonsense. If you look at New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, which is so badly run. Los Angeles, they can't get the houses. They can't get the people their permits to build their houses. They're trying to rebuild their houses from the ridiculous fire that should have never allowed to have taken place. They should have had the water coming down from the Pacific Northwest, but they didn't do that. But they can't get the permits for the people that want to build their houses. But I want to thank Lee Zeldin because the federal government has gotten all of their permits, which are much more difficult permits actually, and had them literally within 30 days after the fire. Everybody had their permit. But you don't have the city and state permits. They got to get going. The governor and the mayor have to get going. It will just be a matter of time that we're going to do something that's going to be incredible. We're going to use the Kennedy Center as a big focus of it, and that's the 250th anniversary celebration that we're having. So it's 250 years. So we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, and we have the 250th anniversary celebration, all in this administration, and it's an honor that we were able to not be allowed to do what we were illegally and what we were supposed to do, and that was we had a great election in 2020. We won the election by a lot, but it was a rigged election, and we had to wait 4 years, and we waited 4 years, and it's interesting because I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup. I can't claim that I got the 250th. That one's a big one, but I happen to be here. But I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup, and I said the shame of it is that I'm not going to be president when it happens. And lo and behold, look what happens. We have some bad things took place, and now I'm going to be president for the Olympics. I'll be president for the World Cup, and the 250th is going to be maybe more exciting than both. It's a great celebration of our country. We're going to be using this building for a lot of the celebration having to do with 250 years. But as I said earlier, I'm determined to make Washington, D.C. safe, clean, and beautiful again. It's going to take place very rapidly. Be prepared. And a big part of that's going to include the Kennedy Center. So thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody for helping us. This is mostly the group right here. They're young, they're smart, they're ambitious, they want my job. Someday one of them will probably have it. But we have a great group of people that are putting this together, and they're also helping us with Washington, D.C. We're going to make Washington beautiful. We're going to redo roads. We're going to redo the medians, the pavers, and the medians all throughout the city. We're going to take all the graffiti off. We're going to have to remove the tents and the people that are living in our parks. We're going to be redoing the parks, the grasses and all. We're going to be going to Congress for a relatively small amount of money, and Lindsey and the Republicans are going to be approving it. I don't know about the Democrats. They don't approve anything. It's amazing. It's like they just don't want to vote for anything. They've got the yips. You know, in golf they say the yips. The Democrats are afraid to do anything because they don't want to be criticized. But fighting crime is a good thing. We have to explain. We're going to fight crime. That's a good thing. Already they're saying, he's a dictator. The place is going to hell, and we've got to stop it. So instead of saying he's a dictator, they should say, we're going to join him and make Washington safe. But they say, he's a dictator. And then they end up getting mugged, and but the stats are very bad. But we're going to, I think we'll actually get Democrat support. I really believe they can't do this one too. It's, they talk about 80-20 issues, but I think many of those 80-20 issues, like men and women's sports, I think it's 97-3, not 80-20. And I think crime is maybe 100-0. So I think we may get very well some Democrat support, but I hope so. But even if we don't, we have the majority, so we're going to vote it in as Republicans, and we're going to do something. And that's going to serve as a beacon for New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and other places all over the country. Our whole country is going to be so different and so great. It's going to be clean and safe and beautiful, and people are going to love our flag more than they've ever loved it, and we're going to do a great job. So I want to congratulate all the nominees. They're unbelievable people, and we're going to have a tremendous day in December, and that evening is going to be special, some really special people, and real talent. Do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, sir. There's new reporting that the Russians have hacked into some computer systems that manage U.S. federal court documents. I wonder if you've seen this reporting and if you plan to bring it up with Putin when you see him later in the week.
I guess I could. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? They hack in. That's what they do. They're good at it. We're good at it. We're actually better at it. But no, I have heard about it. I have heard about it. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned congressional Democrats. You have not yet met with Democratic leadership, but there's a funding deadline at the end of September. Do you plan to meet with Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries to discuss that situation?
Well, I will, I guess, but it's almost a waste of time to meet because they never approve anything. If we want money to fight crime, if we want money to do only good things, just good things. Let's not even talk about controversial. They don't want to meet about anything. They really are. They're stuck. They don't know what to do. They have probably more, I would say more than half are sane, but they are led by insane people. And the kind of things that they're pushing are not something. We have a communist running for the mayor of New York, and I wish him well. I may have to deal with him. I mean, it's not even conceivable. It's not even conceivable that could happen. And maybe he won't win, but he won the primaries by quite a bit. Shockingly, he won the primaries. So, and you see some of the people supporting him that truly don't believe what he's espousing. So, I mean, we will meet, but nothing's going to come out of the meeting. But here's the advantage we have is that we just passed the great, big, beautiful bill that had all the biggest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Think of it. Think of that for the seniors. No tax on overtime. And all sorts of things. You go out, buy a car, you can deduct the interest payment. If you borrow money, you can deduct the interest payment from your taxes. So many things, but the biggest thing is, from a business standpoint, deductions. That was tremendous. Our country is roaring. Our businesses are. You're going to see some numbers in 12 months when these factories are open. We're opening up factories all over the world, all over the country. But that's all spreading to. I think we're spreading the wealth all over the world, if you want to know the truth. But we're opening them in this country at a level that we've never seen before. We've never seen. So they just don't want to prove anything. We meet with them and they say as Nancy Reagan said, just say no. They go, oh, just say no. They're afraid to approve anything. If we say we want to stop crime in this country, or as an example, bail, we want to make it so that people, if they murder somebody, they're in jail. They don't get out on no bail. They say, we don't want that. We want people to murder somebody and they immediately are released and they go out and murder somebody else. It's a big problem, a tremendous problem. By the way, we're going to go for statutes in D.C. and then ultimately for the rest of the country where that's not going to be allowed. Because it was when they did the cashless bail thing that the numbers really started going up. In this city, in New York, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, no matter where they have it, the numbers went through the roof. So we're going to meet with them, of course. I'd like to meet with them. We're going to tell them all these good things, and they're going to tell us no. And then we're going to go out and we're going to vote it in by the Republicans, because I don't believe that anybody is capable of making a deal with these people. They have gone crazy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Your federalization of the police has a 30-day limit unless Congress acts to extend it. Are you talking to Congress about extending it, or do you believe 30 days is sufficient?
Well, if it's a national emergency, we can do it without Congress, but we expect to be to Congress, before Congress, very quickly. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. So we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in. And it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions, because you can't have 30 days. 30 days that's by the time you do it. We're going to have this in good shape. And don't forget, in the border, everyone said it would take years and you'd have to go back to Congress. I never went to Congress for anything. I just said, close the border. And they closed the border. And that was the end of it. I didn't go back to Congress. We're going to do this very quickly, but we're going to want extensions. I don't want to call national emergency. If I have to, I will. But I think the Republicans in Congress will approve this pretty much unanimously. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you encourage members of the press to do ride-alongs with the D.C. police to understand how serious this crime issue is?
It's okay to me if they want to do it. We're going to work with the D.C. police. A lot of very good people in there. Not all, but a lot of very good, very, very professional. And, we have a big force. I think they said 3,500. They're always asking the mayor, who's a very nice woman, but got to do the job. We've worked with the mayor for 6 months, and she's been here for many years. And the numbers are worse than they ever are. Don't let anyone tell you they're not. And the whole statistical charts that they made, the whole thing is a rigged deal. They got rid of the guy because he didn't want to do the numbers the way they wanted to, and they put their own numbers out. They said it's the best in 20 years. No, it's the worst in 20 years. But we're going to be very open about what we're doing. So if the media wants to ride with police, if they want to do it, if they feel it's safe, that would be okay. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Sir, with President Zelensky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mary Margaret with Daily Wire. 2 questions on D.C., if that's okay. How do you feel about Mayor Bowser's level of cooperation and her choosing to advocate for D.C. statehood right now? And
well, the statehood, let me do that one. Okay. Statehood is ridiculous. We want to straighten the place out. Statehood's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It's the Democrats want it because the Democrats have, about 95% in this little area. Even I didn't get it very much. They want that. They want to pick up 2 senators, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's the least of the reasons why, by the way, but that's one of the reasons why. What we want to do is make Washington, D.C., the greatest, most beautiful, safest capital anywhere in the world, and that's going to happen. I mentioned the word bones before. The bones here, we have the greatest bones. When you look at that Supreme Court building, I think it's one of the most beautiful buildings. When you look at some of the buildings here, it's so magnificent, and everything's good, but it's just dirty and not properly maintained. It's not taken care of. Potholes in the roads. All of it's going to happen very quickly. We're going to seek a relatively small amount of money for fix-up, and we're going to put it out to bid. And we have great contractors here, great road builders, everything. And we're not ripping roads apart so they're closed for 4 years as they redo the concrete bases. And You don't need that. We need a beautiful topping by a very talented asphalt-type person, somebody that does the job. We go out, you know, when I get contractors, I use great contractors. To me, a great contractor is a very special, like a great surgeon, like a great teacher, like a great nurse. A great contractor is very important. We'll only use the best. And when you put a coat of asphalt on that top, 2 inches of asphalt, 3 inches of asphalt, it looks brand new. You take all the garbage off. They reseed it, as we call it, or different names, but they take the bad stuff off and they put the good stuff down. It takes not a long period of time. A matter of a few days, you'll have a beautiful, magnificent road. You fix up the curbs. You get rid of the medians in this town are just horrible. You know, you're riding around, I think to myself, leaders come from foreign countries. You see, with leaders all the time, differently. They came in from India recently and from everywhere. They came in from a war that we just ended, Azerbaijan, and you know that, and Armenia. We just ended the war. The 2 leaders came in. One of them said, "My country looks better. The roads are better than, you know, we were talking about." I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Well, the roads are better in Armenia than they are in Washington, D.C. It's embarrassing." And I was asked at the last press conference, they said to me, "How important is it? You're doing world peace. We're going to on Friday to Alaska, meeting with President Putin, Russia. How important it is that the capital is important?" I said, "Very, very important." I told my father, said to me, "When you see a restaurant and you want to go and you want to have dinner, and then you go up to the front door and it's dirty, turn around and go back because the kitchen's dirty." It's the same thing with the capital of the United States of America. If it's dirty and unsafe, it sets a bad tone for the rest of the world. So we're not going to do that. We're going to have this capital fixed up, safe, clean, and beautiful in a very short period of time. Go ahead, please. In the back? Yeah, please.
Yes, Mr. President, how were your calls this morning with European leaders, and was it your call not to invite President Zelensky to your meeting with Putin?
No, just the opposite. No. We had a very good call. He was on the call. President Zelensky was on the call. I would rate it a 10, you know, very, very friendly. I know the leaders because I was at NATO, as you know. I took it from 2% to 5%, 2% that wasn't paid, 5% that is paid, which is trillions of dollars in defense capability. No, it was always going to be, I was going to meet with President Putin, and then after that, I'm going to call the leaders and President Zelensky. I'm going to call President Zelensky, and then I'll call, probably in that order, the leaders. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a second meeting, which will be more productive than the first, because the first is I'm going to find out where we are and what we're doing. Again, this is Biden's war. This isn't my war. He got us into this thing, and it should have never happened. This war would have never happened if I were president. But it is what it is, and I'm here to fix it, and I'm here to stop 6,000, 7,000 people last week. 7,213 people last week were killed, mostly soldiers. But missiles being lobbed into towns don't exactly help either, but mostly soldiers. And Ukrainian and Russian. They're not American soldiers, but you know, if we can save a lot of lives, it would be a great thing. I've stopped 5 wars in the last 6 months. And on top of that, we wiped out the nuclear capability of Iran, obliterated it. It's turned out to be a correct word, by the way, because, you know, some of the press said, well, maybe it wasn't obliteration. It was obliteration. And we're going to meet with, I would say, the second meeting. If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately. And we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place. Now, there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I didn't ask you. Go ahead, please, address.
I
just wanted to ask you, thank you, Mr. President, how involved were you in the selection process of these honorees?
I would say I was about 98% involved. No, they all went through me. They came over, Rick and Sergio and everybody. They said, I turned down plenty. They were too woke. I had a couple of wokesters. No, we have great people. This is very different than it used to be. Very different. These are great people, and they're not. I don't have any idea of the Republican, because I want people that. The Kennedy Center has everything. Look at the Academy Awards. It gets lousy ratings now. It's all woke. All they do is talk about how much they hate Trump. But nobody likes that. They don't watch anymore. That used to have 45 million people watching. I remember The Apprentice, first season. The Apprentice had 42 million people. The Academy Awards had 41 million people. We were the second show to the Super Bowl. But since then, the Academy Awards have gone down to, I think they've gone down to numbers that are like a regular show because it went woke. We're not doing it for that reason. We're doing it because we want the great talent. But these are great people. So I was just a very long answer, but I was very involved.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Biden administration was auctioning off border wall materials, but we're hearing now that the auctioneer is selling those materials back. Are you finishing building the wall?
Well, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and I was getting very close. I actually finished the wall, but then I added another 200 miles because when you do the original wall that I said I was going to build, which I got built, and I got it to the specifications of the Border Patrol and ICE, the exact. They wanted steel, they wanted concrete inside, they wanted rebar inside that, they wanted it to have wires. The walls are wired for, all of the internet stuff and security things. And we built it hundreds of miles. We did great. That's one of the reasons, even now, we're able to have such good numbers at zero, or essentially very little people coming in. But Biden, I ordered for another 200 miles. I was going to do another 200 because it's the way it is. And we're all set to do it. Then we had the bad election result, the horrible, what happened to our country, what they've allowed to happen to our country. And we are taking now that wall back. They sold the wall. Now, this is expensive stuff. Hardened steel, very expensive. 9,000-pound concrete and rebar. Rebar is very expensive, the hardest rebound. No, it's very, very hard to cut. You have different materials. It's very hard to cut because they cut it down if they can. It's very hard to cut. And Biden sold it for pennies on the dollar, 3 cents on the dollar, 4 cents on the dollar. He sold it. And I said, these guys really don't want it. That was when I first realized, when I saw the wall was being put up, because we could have finished the rest of the wall in about 4 weeks, anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. It was all set to go. It was laying down, ready to be put up. The foundations were, and they took over. And they said, we're going to sell the wall. And they sold it, as you know, for pennies on the dollar. Well, Pam Bondi's been working very hard on suing that company, and I think they reached a settlement where we're taking the wall back. But they stole the wall from us. That wall is so expensive to build, and we had it, as you know, hundreds of miles of it, and they came along and they basically sold it for scrap. And what a shame that is. But that was when I first realized that these people actually want to have open borders. And no country has poor countries don't have open borders. No, we had open borders where people just walked in. It didn't matter what they looked like, who they were. We had 11,888 murderers, half of whom killed more than one person. Literally killed more than one person. And this is who we took into our country. So the wall is the least of it, but we're going to take the wall back. We're paying a small amount of money, as I understand it, to get it back, to get rid of the litigation. We'll take it back. We'll put it up. Yeah. Go ahead in the back, please.
I want to take it back to the Kennedy Center, if I can, just for a second, Mr. President.
Sure.
From what I understand, the Les Mis show exceeded everyone's expectations. Attendance, revenue, across the board.
That's great.
Do you anticipate future shows to basically do the same?
I like that guy. Now, that's called a question, okay? And he's a great reporter, actually. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it did great. Les Mis did great, broke records, and was sold out and beautiful. And we anticipate a lot of that happening. There's a thirst for it. And especially when the crime is knocked out. You know, when we knock out crime, some people probably stay away from places like restaurants and other things. It ruins your whole fabric. It ruins your country. And when somebody thinks they have about a 25% chance of getting mugged, they say, let's not go to restaurants tonight. We're going to make it so that they have no chance of getting mugged. And it's going to happen soon. And yeah, we think we're going to have a lot of very successful evenings here. Please.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences, yes. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you a question about the Fed?
Right next to you, please, yeah.
About the Federal Reserve.
Oh, Federal Reserve, my favorite. Too
yesterday
late.
that you're
He's too late.
You're considering suing Jay Powell. Can you update us on your thinking about that and tell us where you are in your search for a new chair?
Well, he took a building that could have been painted and fixed, like we're going to fix this building for very little money. And that was in better shape. He took a building and what they did to that building, they built a basement under the building. It didn't have a basement. This is simple to understand. The building is right next to a thing called the Potomac River, the beautiful Potomac River. That means lots of water. And the water is right under the building. And they decide to build a basement under the building in the Potomac River. So in order to do that, you need the biggest pumps that God ever created. And they were pumping their hearts out, but as big as those pumps are, you can't pump it fast enough because it's the Potomac River. If the pump were bigger than this room, you couldn't pump it. But they tried, and they've been building a basement. And I said, why did you want to build a basement? I thought it would be a good idea, sir. A basement is the least valuable floor in a building. I know a lot about real estate. The least valuable thing is the basement. And you don't build a basement under a building that is 2 feet above the river that's right next door. You know, it's right near the river. People don't realize the river's right out their window. And that's the beginning. They did just a terrible job. Instead of, I could take a ceiling like this, they'd rip out the ceiling because they see a crack. Let's rip out the ceiling. And I would fix the crack, and I would paint the ceiling. And under the ceiling, they put the most incredible protective material. They go out by 3/4 inch, brand new, gorgeous 3/4 inch plywood and sheetrock, hardened sheetrock. And they had it all over the building. So if a little piece of flake came down, but the problem is when they took the ceiling down and it would hit, they spent millions of dollars on protective material that you didn't have to spend anything. He could have done that job for $25 million, and they spent $3.1 billion. He said 2.7, but it's really 3.1. They just don't want to include one of the buildings in the deal. But it's going to be much more than that. And I think he'll be long gone by the time it finishes because they've got a long way to go. And then I hear they want to hire 3,000 economists. What are they going to do? And he got it all wrong. He's too late. We call him Jerome Too Late Powell. It will live with him forever. I believe that name will live with him forever, along with the name Pocahontas and some of the others. He worked closely with Pocahontas, by the way. She's another beauty. But we have a real problem there. They're way over budget, and they did a job that shouldn't have been done. It was unnecessary to be done. I could have gotten the greatest wallpaper anywhere in the world from the finest stores in the world. I could have fixed up a wall a little bit. It would have taken about 2 hours. And covered it with the most magnificent silk and most magnificent paper for thousands of dollars as opposed to tens of millions of dollars. What a shame it is that they did. But they would take down areas of the building that shouldn't have been taken down. They could have literally been painted, and they didn't do that. So they've got a long way to go. And I think it's just grossly incompetent, but not quite as incompetent as his decision not to do interest rates, take down interest rates, because just like they shouldn't have taken down a ceiling, they should take down interest rates. Every point costs us $360 billion a year. Think of that, $360 billion for 1 point. And we should be down at 1% because we're the leader of the world. We were always the lowest interest rate until like a certain time ago, decade, couple. But we were always, because we were the United States of America. So even if the country was run badly, we were considered like to be super prime. And now he's got us in a bad place. So we're paying $360 billion a year for each point. Now, I believe we should be 3 or 4 points lower. So that's over $1 trillion we pay every year in interest. And it's really just a paper calculation. You sign a document and you save almost $1 trillion because that number equates very much to the bonds that we have to buy. But despite that, we're powering through it, and we have the greatest economy maybe we've ever had. But the housing sector, people aren't able to get good mortgages. They're paying too much because of Jerome Too Late Powell. He's truly incompetent. And we'll be making another. We put a very good man in temporarily in the one spot because one of the people that was appointed by the Democrats left early. And I heard left because that person wanted lower interest rates. And I heard quit, but I have no idea. I'm sure she won't say that. I'll be naming a new chairman sometime within the next, I think I'll name it a little bit early, the new chairman. I'm down to 3 or 4 names, all good, all great. The problem is you name them and then they turn out to be not good. That's happened to me a couple of times. You name somebody, they tell you everything you want to hear, and then they go in and they turn out to be not good. I mean, he told me everything that I thought was appropriate. He turned out to be a stiff, you know, real stiff. But other than that, I think he's doing a very good job, yes. Okay, maybe 1 or 2 more. 1 or 2 more. Yes, sir, please. Go ahead.
Mr.
He looks
President.
like Scott Bessent. Are you the Treasury Secretary?
You don't want me for Treasury.
I don't know. You look like you could do a good job. Go ahead.
I keep my family budget okay. Sir, when you meet with Vladimir Putin Friday in Alaska,
yeah,
do you believe you can convince him to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've had that conversation with him. I've had a lot of good conversations with him. Then I go home and I see that a rocket hit a nursing home or a rocket hit an apartment building and people are laying dead in the street. So I guess the answer to that is no, because I've had this conversation. I want to end the war. It's Biden's war, but I want to end it. I'll be very proud to end this war along with the 5 other wars I ended. But I guess the answer to that is probably no, because I would have had a good conversation with Vladimir. I knew him very well. I got along with him great, actually. We had I had to go through the Russia hoax. And it was actually, it was a strain on the relationship. I actually told him, I said, you know, they got this phony investigation going on, Russia, totally phony, created by Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, and Hillary Clinton and the whole group of them. And it made it very dangerous for our country because I was unable to really deal with Russia the way we should have been. I'm looking at Pam because I hope something's going to be done about it. These people put our country at great danger. And Adam Schiff, it was all made up. It was a hoax. The Mueller report came out. They all hated me. They had 18 Trump haters. And they said I did nothing wrong. They couldn't believe, they couldn't find anything. After years of investigation, it was all a hoax. It was a hoax created by the Democrats, but in particular Schiff and Crooked Hillary, the whole group. And now we've learned all the stuff that's come out over the last 2 months is incredible through intelligence. And hopefully something's going to happen with it. These are people that put our country in danger, in real danger. I want to thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
start filtering in on giving the latest update. Our Prime Minister is about 15 minutes away, they tell us. And so he's on the route, so they'll be here shortly, so it's close. But 5 minutes, they told me. So what we'd like to do is maybe just start a little informal program, get people seated. I know the security people want everyone seated when he arrives, and the people out in the lobby. There's some seats over here. We can get everyone in. And then the plan will be we'll bring the Prime Minister, his wife Sarah, and then I will do a brief introduction of when he comes here. And then before that, we can have a little bit of an informal program as we're waiting, which easily detaches into his program as soon as he arrives. So it's an exciting moment, I think, for all of us, and a special occasion. What I'd like to do is to start. Do we have everyone from outside here? We have a video, a 3-minute video that talks about Newsmax, just so you know a little bit about us. It starts off this year. We had an iconic, Malcolm mentioned, public offer of the New York Stock Exchange. So they did a film that's about 1 minute long, which is really fun. It features this guy, Chris Reddy, I don't know if you heard about him. And but it has a lot of cast of characters. Some of the folks are here in the film. And then 2 minutes about Newsmax, what our mission is, and how we're growing. So that's our 3-minute commercial. And then Carl Higby is one of our top-rated hosts. And Carl is here all this week in Israel, broadcasting every night, talking about some of the challenges Israel's facing with the hostages. And I've asked him to come up and just chat about what he's experiencing, because he's been incredible. He's a Navy SEAL. He served in Iraq during the war in 2006 and 7. He's very aware of the situation here. So if we're ready, and the video people, I know the podium's going to hurt the view of some of this, but try to look with your eyes with X-ray vision to see it. If we dim the lights a little bit, I think would be very effective up front. No. Yeah. That's right. You know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. But also, it takes a lot of people that want to contribute to make that journey successful. The people in our privilege believe that we have a special mission, which is to give the American people, this special country, the information they need to make great decisions that will effectively shape the future and improve our freedoms. It's a momentous time for me personally, but also I thank all of you, and I hope for the country. And I want to thank you all for coming today.
It's true. Millions of Americans are making the switch to Newsmax. They're turning to Newsmax for the real news. Each night across America, viewers like you are tuning in for famed host Greta Van Susteren, followed by rising star Rob Schmidt and America's voice Greg Kelly. Newsmax's roster of top-tier talent are joined by some of the best correspondents and journalists from across the nation and around the globe. With such powerful voices, Americans are turning to a new source for their news. The Economist YouGov poll found that Newsmax was among the most trusted brands in cable news. That's why leaders in politics, leaders in business, leaders in global news are all turning to Newsmax to reach America. Nielsen says Newsmax is already the 4th highest rated cable news channel in the country and competes regularly with CNN and Fox News for their top-tier cable audience. It's no wonder the big media and the people who matter can't stop talking about Newsmax.
Newsmax. Newsmax.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
The Newsmax studios and the writer of Like Mike. Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really terrific.
Newsmax has been terrific. Newsmax, you like Newsmax? I like it too. Each month, more than 40 million Americans watch, listen, or read Newsmax. Millions have made the switch, and millions more are making it now. Be one.
We even aired this show called Huckabee on the weekends. Ratings have gone way down since he took another job. I think he's doing something more
interesting in the Middle East. We're very honored tonight to have some special guests. Our group was just really taken today by Speaker Ohana. He is doing a tremendous job and a great advocate for the people of Israel. And our mission group, which is here, really appreciated. Speaker Ohana is here today with Ambassador. Minister Tal was here earlier. He spoke a few words. And Simcha Rothman, the member of Knesset, is here. Dan Aluz was here earlier, but I think he had another engagement, member of Knesset. And the governor of the Judea and Samaria, I believe, Governor Gantz, Israel Gantz. Somebody said he always can be remembered as the guy who's the good Gantz. Somebody said that to me earlier. We like that. So, Governor, thank you for joining. Carl Higbee is an amazing host. You saw his picture up here. Please come up, Carl, and maybe share some of what you felt, what you learned this week. And I think people would be interested to hear it.
Thank you very much. Instead of putting my face in the video a lot, they just flew me out here to talk to you directly. No, this has actually been an incredible experience for me, and I appreciate Mr. Ruddy taking the time and especially the honor of flying me out here to see this. I did a couple tours to Iraq as an active guy back 07, 09, and thank you. So people say, is this the first time you've ever been out this direction? I said, no, well, no, not really, but this is the first time I've actually had somebody or nobody shooting at me, so that's nice. This is, to see the enemy that I fought in Iraq, it's very interesting because America's 7,000 miles away, but Israel has these people literally on their borders. We're driving down the road and I see a fence. You
should. They say the Prime Minister's here. I'm going to greet him at the door and then walk him up and just do an introduction. And you can continue talking till you see him open the door.
Fantastic. All right.
You're our security at the podium.
Exactly. So if you just see me run away, that's why. No, but we drive down and I ask our driver, I said, why is there this huge fence along the highway? He says, oh, because, people who don't like us throw rocks at our cars randomly. And we in America don't have to deal with that. We have been told that there is, no aid going into Gaza, nothing like that. And there is. I witnessed 300 to 400 different trucks a day going in there escorted by military contractors. It looks like the Prime Minister is coming out now, so I don't want to take too much time from him, but I appreciate you guys having us out here. It's really been an honor. Thank you.
Please take a seat. It is ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor to introduce a man whose life work has been the defense of his people, the preservation of freedom, and the unflinching pursuit of truth. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of the State of Israel, and his wife embody these views and principles, and we're so honored to have you tonight.
Thank you.
Sarah Netanyahu is also joining us tonight. They say it's a cliche to say that behind every great man is a great woman. Well, in this case, it is true, and I think he admits that. Sarah Netanyahu is the mother of Yair, and Abner, and we know Yair because he comes on Newsmax occasionally. He's quite articulate. Is the only First Lady to work during her husband's terms, a career in educational psychologist. She has dedicated herself to helping children in need, people on welfare, for instance. She remains in close contact with hostage families, wounded IDF soldiers, and the families of reservists. In recent months, the Prime Minister has faced two of the greatest threats to the security of Israel ever: the relentless advance of Iran's nuclear program and the constant menace from Gaza and Hamas. Against Iran, he has marshaled intelligence, diplomacy, and when needed, decisive action to ensure that those who dream of destroying Israel would wake up to a far different reality. Against the terror networks in Gaza, he has acted with precision and resolve to protect innocent lives, never losing sight of Israel's moral duty in the fog of conflict. These are not decisions for the timid. They are the choices of a leader who understands the history and does not remember those who flinch in moments of crisis. Winston Churchill once warned that the free world faced a gathering storm of tyranny. He stood often alone against the tide of appeasement. Sounds familiar with you against the media sometimes, because he knew that peace without strength is an illusion. In our time, Benjamin Netanyahu has carried that same torch of clarity and courage. He has been willing to stand alone if necessary, to tell truths, and to act before danger becomes catastrophe. The battles ahead may be different, but the principle is the same. The survival of a free people depends on leaders like Benjamin Netanyahu, who will not bow, who will not yield, and who will never apologize to defending his nation, Israel. On October 7th, we all recognize that all people who love freedom and cherish the values of a great society, on that day, we all became Israelis, and we all stood with Prime Minister Netanyahu and the people of Israel, and we stand with you today. Today, we welcome a statesman who has been tested on the world stage and will continue to meet those tests with iron will and unshakable purpose. Please join me in giving a warm and heartfelt welcome to the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Newsmax, for helping us on the 8th front war. 7 fronts against Iran and its proxies. The 8th front, the battle for truth. And Newsmax, you have let the truth circle the globe against the lies that have circled it before and continue to do so. There's only one way to beat the lies, and that's with the truth. Thank you for standing up with Israel. Thank you for standing up with the truth. Sarah will join us in a short moment, but I want to thank you for your kind words about her. She deserves every one of it and more. Every one of it and more. She is, I call this battle against Iran, I called it rising lion, because in the Bible, there's a phrase that the people of Israel should rise like lions, will rise like lions. And our brave soldiers did just that. But we also have lionesses. We have lionesses in the field, and I have a lioness at home that guards not only our cubs, but fights for the people of Israel against enormous pressures, vilifications, lies. She's just so strong, and I treasure her support. There are a few things I want to say to you in English, but there's something I want to say in Hebrew because we have the Hebrew press here. So it'll take a few minutes. And you can have running translation. It's AI. It's imperfect, but it's sort of can do the job. אנחנו השגנו ניצחונות כבירים. אנחנו השגנו ניצחונות והישגים מול חמאס ומול חיזבאללה ומול המשטר הרצחני של אסד בסוריה ומול איראן. וגם מול שלוחים אחרים. אנחנו עשינו את זה כי לחמנו יחד. אנחנו עשינו את זה משום שצה"ל והמוסד והשב"כ, כל אחד בתחומו, כל אחד בגזרתו ובשילוב זרועות, עשו עבודה יוצאת מן הכלל בהנחיית הדרג המדיני, בהנחיית ההחלטות שהממשלה מקבלת כראוי בדמוקרטיה. הממשלה מחליטה, ודרגי הביטחון מבצעים, ולכולם מגיע את הקרדיט, כל אחד בחלקו וכולם יחד בשילוב. אבל אני רוצה לומר משהו על תופעת הלשעברים. אלה האנשים שהובילו את זרועות הביטחון בישראל. אני שירתתי עם חלק מהם, בדרך כלל הם היו יותר צעירים ממני, אבל עם חלק שירתתי, ועם חלק אחר עבדתי כראש ממשלה במהלך 18 שנותיי כראש ממשלת ישראל. יש לי הערכה גדולה מאוד לתרומה שלהם, כל אחד בתחומו, גם לגבורה שהם הראו בשדה הקרב, בהקרבה. ואני חושב שהאנשים האלה שהיוו מופת לרבים אחרים, עשו דברים חשובים מאוד למדינת ישראל. אבל משהו קרה בצאתם מהשירות. משהו קרה. והדבר לא קרה באופן אישי, הוא קרה באופן מערכתי. בהדרגה בשנים הללו יצאה מילה אחת מהלקסיקון של צבא ההגנה לישראל. והמילה הזאת היא ניצחון. ואנחנו מחזירים את המילה הזאת, משום שבלעדיה אין משמעות לקיום שלנו כאן. או שאנחנו מנצחים, או שאלה שבאים לכלותנו ינצחו. אנחנו מנצחים. אנחנו מכריעים. והעובדה הזאת שערערה במידה רבה את האמון שלהם, הם חיפשו תחליף. איך אנחנו ננצח? איך נעמוד מול הגל העולמי? הגל העולמי קורא לנו בעצם לאבד את עצמנו לדעת באיזה אילוזיה, באיזה רעיון עיווים של מדינה פלסטינית שכל מטרתה להשמיד אותנו, והדרך שבה נפתור את הבעיה של הקיום שלנו זה לתת פלטפורמה, לתת מדינה פלסטינית שבעצם כל כולה תהיה מכוונת לחסל אותנו. ובחיפוש אחר תחליף לניצחון בא הרעיון הזה, שמה שהם קוראים פתרון מדיני, שהוא לא יותר מאשר מילה אחרת לתבוסה וכניעה. וזה לא יהיה. דבר הזה לא יהיה. אבל מה שקרה הוא שאנשים שחדלו להאמין בניצחון התחילו להאמין בחזיון השווא הזה, ונסחפו לתוך תנועות פוליטיות קיצוניות שמערערות את עצם הרוח של הלוחמה, שמערערות את הנכונות להילחם עד כלות ועד הניצחון, מתוך מחשבה שזה פסול ולא ייתן שום דבר. אני מצר מאוד על מה שקרה לאנשים האלה, שמאוד הערכתי אותם בזמן שירותם. אני לא אוותר על הניצחון, עם ישראל לא יוותר על הניצחון, הלוחמים שלנו לא מוותרים על הניצחון, ואנחנו משיגים את הניצחון על אויבינו. זה מה שנמשיך לעשות, עם הלשעברים או בלעדיהם. Now I want to say a few words in English. Did you understand that, Ambassador Huckabee? I don't know. I follow every one of your words. You could follow every one of mine. I followed you when you said the other day that the problem in Gaza is that not starvation for the Palestinians, and certainly for Hamas. Hamas, you said, needs Ozempic. Well, it could be funny, but it isn't. It could be funny because it's not funny because the deliberate starvation policy, the only deliberate starvation policy that we see in Gaza, is the starving of our hostages. And you can see that when you look at their captors and you see our emaciated hostages and these corpulent guards tormentors. And that's a way to puncture the falsehoods, because the battle, the eighth front that I was talking about, is the battle to puncture the lies and bring out the truth. Israel has no starvation policy. It had and has a policy to separate the civilians from combatants on two fronts. The first front is the actual battle zones. We have sent millions and millions of text messages, phone calls. This has never happened before in the war. That the army that is fighting terrorists in an urban environment calls on the civilians in enemy territory to leave, and the enemy shoots them if they try to leave. And then Israel is blamed for genocide. That's ridiculous. It is a blatant falsehood, and one of the first and most important lies that has to be exposed. The genocidal element is Hamas. The genocidal element is the Iranian axis that openly calls for the annihilation and extermination of Israel and many Jews. It calls for the death of America, that's true. But people don't understand that it begins with their attempt to destroy Israel, because we stand in their way. We're the only force in the Middle East that fights Iran. And until recently, we were the only force in the world that fought Iran. And I very much appreciate President Trump's bold decision to send those B-2s to help Israel fight against this common enemy. So the first false accusation is genocide. The second false accusation is starvation. From the start, from the second day of the war, we said there has to be another separation between civilians and combatants, and that is that we supply humanitarian aid to the combatants. Even though we're in a very small and tight urban space, we'll do every effort to do so, and we did. If we had a starvation policy, now nearly 2 years after the beginning of the war, everybody in Gaza would be dead. But they're not, because that's not our policy. Our policy is the exact opposite. We sent in 2 million tons, 1.9 million tons of food and medical aid into Gaza, because that's how we conduct the war. Until recently, that is, when Hamas began to loot, rob, kill, take over humanitarian aid. We wanted to put in our own system, American companies who will distribute the aid directly to the Palestinian civilians. Again, Hamas came in, shot their way in, created riots, created every interdiction possible, and so we had a period of deprivation. Hamas caused the hunger problem. Hamas caused the shortage problem, and Israel is blamed, again falsely. We are now engaged in a humanitarian surge of offering safe, secure routes for distribution of food. We're doubling and perhaps quadrupling the number of distribution points that will be safeguarded, and we're doing airdrops, invite other countries to join us. That's what Israel is doing. And as a result, now hundreds of trucks go in daily, and that hunger problem, that deprivation problem, has basically been solved. What has not been solved, what is not stopped, is the campaign of lies, and especially those photographs of 3 children. One of them in the New York Times, the reputable New York Times. Nobody's laughing. They put a photograph of an emaciated child, and they said this is the cause of hunger. He's embraced by his mother. Of course, the mother is not emaciated. The brother is not emaciated. But this child was not emaciated from hunger. He was emaciated by a genetic disease, cerebral palsy. And 2 other children, same thing, made the great pictures and so on. Horrific, heart-wrenching pictures, because it does tear your heart out when you see this. And they were also suffering from genetic diseases. But 2 of the 3 were actually taken care of by Israel. We let out one of these children go to an Italian hospital, and thank God, he recovered there. The other is incurable. He was in our hospitals, but there's nothing you can do about it. So this is a complete reversal of lies, and I don't take it lightly. I think this battle for truth has tragic historical antecedents. My father was a great historian of the Jewish people and a great historian of the Jews in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, every single massacre that the Jews suffered was preceded by a campaign of vilification and lies. We were accused of spreading disease, vermin, to the Gentiles. We were accused of poisoning the wells. We were accused of killing Christian children for their blood, to bake matzos, for Passover. These lies, horrific as they were, propelled anti-Semitism right into the 20th century, into the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust. And the Nazis pretty much said the same thing about disease, about well poisoning, and so on. Well, that same phenomenon we see today. What the Jewish people were accused of in the Middle Ages and the subsequent centuries is what the Jewish state is now being accused of. There's only one difference. Then we had no defense. Now we have a country, now we have an army, and now we fight back against our tormentors. And now we have a great ally in the form of President Trump and many of the American people. Yes, some have fallen victim to these lies and have followed them and swallow hook, line, and sinker. And I'm talking about, all these lies of Hamas, statistics of Hamas, false pictures of Hamas. But many Americans have not, most Americans have not. They recognize that Israel stands for the same values as America. They recognize that we are fighting the barbarians at the gate. And when I say barbarians, this is not hyperbole. It's not only the goal of destroying Israel, it's even the method that they use to murder and mutilate the heathen, as they call them. And we saw that on October 7th in the murder and rape and beheadings, the murder of women that you have just raped, and the beheadings of men, and the mutilation of bodies, and the burning of babies, and the taking of over 250 hostages, grandmothers and their grandchildren, Holocaust survivors. That is the passion, and the fact that they went with GoPro cameras so people they could boast about it. There is something wicked and evil in this. And yet you have on American campuses the people, even the schools that I went to in Boston, Alan Dershowitz, you were in Harvard, I was at MIT. Can you say something in their defense right now? No. Yeah, I figured. Neither can I, because I think it's atrocious. Yet you have people there siding with Hamas, siding river to the sea, basically the river to the sea. You'd think that this is a huge country. The river is the Jordan River. It's hardly a river, it's a stream. I'm telling you that. And the sea is a few kilometers from here. In between sandwiches the state of Israel, this tiny, giant country, It's a giant country, but it's tiny in dimension. And they basically say, wipe it off the map. And they don't understand what they're fighting for. Maybe some of them do. But our people who joined them don't even know what they're talking about. And it's not only the savagery of Hamas and the Iranian terror axis. In Syria, just a few weeks ago, we stopped the savage massacre of Druze, a non-Islamic sect. And we saw, and these people who hate them hate us and hate America, and they chant the same thing: death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews, death to the heathen. And the Jews happen to be the heathen, a small minority. And they went into their town of Sweda, and they butchered the men. They raped the women, the nurses, and then shot them. They burnt babies, and they added a few things. They added it, and you saw it live, and you have to see it to understand this. I mean, you see a Druze civilian wounded lying on the ground, and one of these fanatics, these unbelievable savages, they go in, knife the guy, tear out his heart, and then eat it. And it takes a few seconds for death to come. So the victim has his heart eaten while he's still alive. This is savagery, this is barbarism, this is what Israel is fighting on behalf of Western civilization, on behalf of civilization. And the propagation of these lies is exactly what we had in the Middle Ages. So now we have the capacity to physically defend the Jewish state, but we now have to muster all the forces that seek to defend our common civilization against this mutilation of the truth that threatens our common future. And that's why I salute Newsmax and others who stand together, stand up for the truth, are not cowed, can speak their mind, can show the facts, can stand up for our common humanity and for our common future. And if you're not ready in this day and age, especially in this day and age, to fight for freedom, you will lose it. If you do not fight for your civilization, you will lose it. We are prepared to fight, and I know America is prepared to stand with us, and I salute you for doing the same. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
refreshments are available out in the foyer. Help yourself.
I don't want to crowd them. I want other people.
in the foyer, you're not going to be allowed to get out of that door that you're crushing into. Trust me. So please back up. I know. But Chris told me to say this, so I am. I'm going out of my mind. But thank you. Thank you. Oh, look at my audience. Please back up. You will not get out that door. Coffee and dessert are in the opposite direction.
The reason when there's a rock star in the house, you think donuts are going to convince them to turn around?
Maybe some booze.
There you go.